Happy August, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sonographers in the Cities. I'm Lynn.
And I'm Giselle.
Thank you for tuning in. If you're listening and watching this when it's not in August, hello, welcome. We are filming this episode in August. So it's like the first Friday of August. New month, new opportunities, end of summer.
Make your goals this month. I mean, it's usually like people are prepping, I think, for school or looking into schools,
Getting ready for their programs. Because we know quite a few who are just waiting to start.
Yeah. And like a lot of people who just got in, people who are still doing research, or people who are getting close to finishing, like Lynn. How's that going?
I have next week. So next week, Tuesday is my last day. And then I have a 4-week break and I'm so excited. I have next week, Tuesday is my last clinical day. That means I'm all done. I submitted all my paperwork for my clinicals. I just needed to clock in and clock out on that day so that I can have all my requirements ready for ARDMS.
Wow. At the end of the clinical sites. That's crazy.
Yes.
Congratulations.
4 quarters of clinicals. So that's 40 weeks.
So then after your break, what do? You just prep for your boards?
After my break, I have 1 more quarter, which I will take abdomen 2, OB2, and their labs. I have case studies. And yes, prep for my boards because I take it in 3 months.
That's so exciting. Look at you go. I can't believe it. Basically, being at the end of your clinical means that you're pretty much ready to be a real sonographer out there. So how do you feel about that?
I feel like I'm ready. I feel like I'm like in between clinicals and real life, if you know what I mean. Like, if I go to another clinicals, I can do it very well. But if I go to a job,
you'll feel
I feel like I am not prepared, like my first day of clinicals, if that makes sense.
And it's going to feel like that no matter what. I mean, I feel like with sonographers who've been doing it for a long time, you know what you're doing, but then when you go somewhere new, you're like, you feel like you're brand new all over again. Because you got to learn everything new or different if it's not somewhere you've already been. And let's say you get a job at one of your clinical sites, you kind of just fit right in, which will be exciting if that happens.
Yes, that's the goal. So we'll see.
Good luck with everything.
Oh, yes, and job searching too.
Yes.
Because I want to start working right when I'm done, which is before Thanksgiving.
It's going to come so fast.
I feel like fall comes really fast. Like it comes and it goes because it's fall and then the holidays and it's just before you know it is New Year's.
Yeah. And I like this time of year. I feel like, you have things to look forward to. And it's just really exciting. There's a lot of things that are coming up in our future. So definitely enjoy your break right now while you can, because it's all going to come really fast.
Yes. If you have a break, enjoy it. Go on that vacay that you're planning, or do a staycation. Just enjoy it before, your program starts or going back to school.
Yeah. We always talk about self-care and like mental health because that's very important for us to be the best sonographer that we can be, because in order to take care of our patients really well, we have to also take care of ourselves. So, you've got to give and take, I think, when it comes to life. And, you're putting in so much work to your program and studying and everything like that. You have to owe it to yourself to take that break, which I just came back from Hawaii. And that was really nice to take that break. I've just been really up and down with a lot of things and a lot of health stuff and my emotions and everything that's been going on. And so it was nice to have a break to just not think about anything. And I think it would find you guys really well to just kind of take a moment off of social media, be with your own self and just think about what's best for you. And I think me having that week and doing that was really nice. Obviously, I love ultrasound and I love talking about ultrasound and working and being about ultrasound, but there's also more to life than just that. So we are here to show you guys that there's like this balance that you have to have. And especially, I feel like students need to hear that more because I think a lot of you guys are very hard on yourselves. Just we're here to remind you of that stuff. And with
I
school.
like that you I like that you have a good approach to, your work-life balance, and you set a
Mhm.
good example for, students like myself or the younger generations of sonographers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank
like,
you.
if you follow Giselle on Instagram, on her stories, I really like that she posts stories when she's by herself, like by the pool, reading a book,
Mhm.
or just, like walking around, showing sceneries. But when she's by herself, but you don't see it when she's with her family because she's spending time with her family. So I
Mhm.
really, not that I'm reading into your stories, but now that
Yeah.
you say it, I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
noticed that, and I really like your approach to it. So that's a good
Yeah.
example for us.
I kind of made sure that if I was with my family, I wasn't on my phone or anything like that. And I just wanted to kind of live in the moment because when I'm not there with them, I'm always on my phone. Or, my boyfriend, like, he also can attest to this, is like, I'm always on my phone, but because I kind of have to be, and it's just because I have all of you guys that I really want to make sure that I'm really here for you guys, and you guys can really reach out to me if you ever need anything. And so half of my life is like on social media, and it's just a lot. So I just try to take a step back sometimes, and having that was really nice. So I encourage you guys to do that because especially as sonographers, like you're gonna be busy at work. It's gonna be crazy, stressful, and I just want you guys to see what the real side of it is like. It's not all fun and happiness. People think we are, right? They think we have such
Hmm.
an amazing 100% always happy, great job. Like, though there's so much sadness a part of it too. So, gotta take a step back from everything. And yeah, just wanted you guys to know that. But, obviously going into school, like put your best foot forward and you'll get through it. But we're here for you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoy our upcoming episodes, which today we're still doing deep dives. And
Oh,
for
that's cool.
those,
Deep dive
yeah, deep
series.
dives for you guys who are not in it yet or are curious about it, we did talk about the general sonography in episode 38 and talks to Julie, who's a general sonographer. So today we're going to be doing echovascular or cardiovascular sonography. And in the future, we're going to have a cardiac sonographer guest on. But Lynn is a cardiovascular student. So this is her time to shine because this is what she's going into the field as. And I am obviously a general with vascular, but she's a cardiovascular expert here. Soon to be, but pretty much is. So how do you
Mm,
feel?
that's good.
How do you
Mm.
feel?
I feel good. I can talk about echo, and then you can talk about vascular if you want to
Okay.
divide it up.
Yeah, we can. I'll put my 2 cents in, but, you know, are you, excited to become cardiovascular? Are you gonna do vascular or echo boards first? Like, what are you planning to do?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, my goal is like whichever job I get first, I take the boards first,
Okay.
if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Because I plan to take them relatively close to each other anyways.
Mm.
Um, Basically by the end of November, I would have both because ultimately I want to do both at
At one
once.
point. Oh,
Yes.
mhm.
But it's kind of tough to find like an inpatient or a hospital setting here that does both.
Okay.
So
Yes. So, for those who
location matters.
right. And for those who don't know, cardiovascular, that's its own subset of ultrasound because general sonography does not scan the heart. So if you want to scan the heart, you have to be an echo. And a majority of programs out there will do echo and vascular together. And they're kind of like hand in hand because obviously vasculature is connected to the heart. And then now there's some programs who, just solely focus on echo and they'll maybe teach you like some vascular. It just, like she said, depends on where you go. So do your research and decide what you want to do before getting into these programs because it really does make a difference. Um, Depending on where you go. And out there, it could be different in New York than it is here in Vegas. or in Texas or in California. But in my hospital, for example, the cardiac department is its own cardiac unit. So they only do echo, they don't do vascular. And I do the vascular in the general department. But then you'll go some other places and they want a tech that knows both echo and vascular. And so you're more versatile in that way if you know both. But I mean, which one do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about echo or vascular?
Let's talk about vascular because,
Okay.
that's what we have in common.
Okay. Vascular. So, vascular ultrasound. Is there a definition? Do you want to just kind of explain what it is?
Vascular ultrasound. I think I went in a little bit deep in one of the previous episodes.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, I think it was episode, was it 28, or how to choose between DMS specialties?
Mm-hmm.
Remember? Because I was
Yeah.
saying it, and then you said that we'll, in the future, we'll
Talk
dive.
about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So here's
So
the
episode
episode
28.
that I can dive deep into. Excuse me. So vascular ultrasound is used to evaluate the body's circulatory system. So that's your arteries and your veins, and it helps identify blockages and blood clots.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very general
Yep.
definition, but that's
Yeah.
basically what it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Vascular is very, I feel like it's simple, straightforward. Like, this is what vascular is. You are looking at the highways of your body. You're looking at the vessels of vasculature, arteries, and veins,
Mm.
and it's all kind of coming from the heart. So that's why it's connected with echo. But essentially, you're looking at these tubes, providing this blood flow, and an artery, when you guys learn in anatomy, artery sends blood away from the heart and veins send blood toward the heart. And so they both have different types of symptoms when they have different issues. And so what you're learning in vascular is what's happening to the veins and what's happening to the arteries. Is there a blood clot in the veins? Is there thrombus in the arteries? Is there a plaque? Is there a stenosis? Is there something that's going on with the blood flow that's being restricted? Is there a blockage? So these are things you will learn in vascular, and it's a lot that has to do with physics because we do Dopplers, and what a Doppler is how we see the velocity in the blood flow. And, we talk about things like blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular, peripheral artery disease, all these different things. And at the end of the day, your doctor's going to order an ultrasound to look at your blood vessels, not only in your arms, your legs, but your abdomen too, and your brain. It's pretty straightforward, I feel like, when you go into vascular, because you're like, okay, what direction is this blood flowing? Is it an artery? Is it a vein? Is there a blood clot? Is there a plaque? Like, is there a stenosis? and and it's really cool because vascular was the first type of exam that I learned in clinical, and it was the legs. So I did a venous study, and that was the first thing that I felt really comfortable with. And I was like, wow, I can do this. And I feel like that's what vascular can do for some people because they give you this reason why you're doing the exam. So someone's got swelling or someone has pain. And then you're like, okay, why do they have that? Is it something that has to do with the vasculature system? And then you take your images and you do your protocol, and bam, it's either yes or no. There's a blood clot or not. There's a stenosis or not. And that's what I really like about the vascular. What about you?
Yes, that was a very, very good explanation. I really like your metaphor of, like, it's a highway. What did you say? The
Yeah.
highway
It's like the
of your
highways.
body?
Because it's, your blood flow is traveling.
Mm-hmm.
Is your highway blocked? Is your highway
Yeah.
having another direction? So like for collaterals, is it going a
Mm-hmm.
different way? Like, is there an exit path that something's happening? You got spider veins and you have um your
Varicose
yeah,
veins.
varicose veins, and sometimes they're like squiggly and you're like trying to figure out where it's going,
Mm-hmm.
So
And then, like, the Doppler that you said to measure the velocity is like the speed limit. You know,
Mhm.
if there's a blockage, obviously the speed limit would be 0 because no car is moving to that blockage.
Mhm.
But you know, if there's like a 50% stenosis, say you're in the, and that means like the, you know, that's a very good metaphor if you think
Mhm.
about it. You can
Yeah.
like measure the speed at the blockage
Like
and
at the
it's like
narrow.
really high. Yeah, the
Yes.
narrow way.
So it's kind of like these are things that I did in school. And the things that I learned after school was try to relate it to something that makes sense to you because
Mm-hmm.
then it will make sense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do, let's say, when you do the cardiac stuff, obviously I know nothing about cardiac, but if you can relate to, you know, the blood pressures and the velocities, and then it has to do with physics, if you relate all of that to things that you understand, you can explain it better. And what I really enjoyed about vascular was if I can explain it to somebody, then I know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do vascular studies, there's things like reflux. Is the blood flow going backwards? We have valves in in our veins. So is our blood going backwards? And why is that? Oh, well, gravity. Gravity's coming down and your valves aren't working. That means there's a leak in there. And then when you look at the vasculature on the images, you can see it's going backwards. It's above the baseline. So it's going backwards. Why? Because gravity is pulling down, the blood flow's going down. And these are things that I learned over time. It's not like I it's not like I understood what I'm saying right away,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but these are vascular is really interesting for people to think that, you know, there's not much. It's very straightforward, but there's so much in vascular. There's
Mm-hmm.
fistulas, and there's pseudoaneurysms, and there's abdominal aortic aneurysms, and there's the blood vessels in your in your abdomen, like your kidneys, your liver, your spleen, mesenteric arteries, and things like that. So it's a lot more than what people think, but I like it so much because it's very straightforward. Is the velocity high or is it normal? You
Yes,
know?
I like it too. I like the structure of it. I love having
Mhm.
a structure, and vascular is like is either going up or it's going down, it's going towards the probe or it's not.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't understand well, maybe I understand a little bit why people don't like vascular because, it's complicated and
Mhm.
it's,
It's a
you're
lot of
scanning
physics.
everywhere in the body.
Yeah.
But on the other side is also very fascinating and
Mhm.
very easy to understand
Mhm.
once you get the hang of it. Like
Yes.
Giselle said about reflux being above the baseline. If you haven't started your program, don't understand any of it, you probably won't understand until you learn
Mhm.
what it means to be above the baseline, below the baseline.
Yeah. And it's really cool. I don't know. I like vascular a lot. Um, and when we had that episode 20 about choosing your specialties, you know, do some research on it and see what interests you and what sparks you. Because obviously some general programs have vascular in it. And some people find out they don't like vascular. I mean, you're scanning people's legs and feet,
Mm-hmm.
and you're scanning their arms and their necks. And most of the time, mesenteric arteries and veins is usually done by a general sonographer. But I mean, you can, if you learn that stuff, you'll be very versatile and you
Mm-hmm.
can do more things if you learn all of it. TCDs, for example, not a lot
Yeah.
of people do TCDs, which is part of general sonography, but it's technically vascular because you're looking at the vasculature of your brains and you're looking at the directional flow of the arteries in your vein and or the arteries and the vertebral arteries of your neck and your brain. So, you know, a lot of people ask me about neurosonography. Vascular is very good to dive into that too. So that's basically vascular. And if you
Yeah.
guys um want more, you know, if you want more specific things about vascular, just let us know and we can tell you guys more about it. Especially when when she's all done, because we can talk more about
We
it
can
later.
talk more, definitely. Yeah, because you need blood where
Mhm.
to all your organs. So that's what when you said versatile, it really
Yeah.
is because no matter what specialties you want to go into, vascular will always be there.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
your blood is everywhere.
I think vascular is a really good one to know.
Hmm.
And also, you can work in vascular labs too, which if you don't want to work with like pelvics or pregnancies, vascular is the way to go. And cardiac. So that leads us to cardiac.
That was a good transition.
Yeah.
All right,
So
so
echo
echo,
slash cardiac.
it's
It's like the same
yes.
thing.
Here's the basic definition. It's the ultrasound test that checks the structure and function of your heart. That's it.
Boom.
That's all it does. It's just, the probe is in there are four different windows and just looking at one organ. And because the heart is so fascinating and so important, that it has all this pathology and all the functions that it does, so that you can evaluate it. And it's really, really awesome.
I was gonna say, I feel like the heart is so complex
It
that
only has four chambers.
yeah.
And if one chamber fails, it causes a problem.
And do they teach you guys about like the AV nodes and like all that stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, I and like do they tell you guys how to read ECGs or EKGs or whatever? Like do you need to know that kind of stuff?
We need to understand it, but we don't need to know it.
Okay.
That's what the doctors do.
They do that. You just kind of
But
get
for
information.
the echo, you do get hooked up to an EKG. So it is on your screen, and then because you can rewind,
Mhm.
to where the part of where the heart is pumping or when it's resting and all that
Okay.
stuff. And it's just to like evaluate the valves and the chambers and the walls,
Mhm.
and
Wh-
fascinating.
What are some indications that they would need to do an echo for?
Some indications. Let's
Mhm.
see. So like chest pain. Chest pain is super common. I
Mhm.
just learned that chest pain is like the 95% of the symptoms of ER symptoms.
Ooh, yep.
We,
And that's why
yeah,
everyone
we,
gets a
we
chest X-ray. Everyone gets one when they walk in.
yeah, we had in Echo 3, we had an ER doctor who was our guest lecturer, and he said
Mhm.
that 95% of ER. And I got that
I
question
believe that.
wrong on my test,
Oh,
so I remember it.
I believe that. Yes.
Because I was in echo for my echo rotation. I was an outpatient.
Mhm.
Most of the patient came in for chest pain. Like literally, all the indications for my studies were
Testing.
chest pain. So
Got
I
it.
thought that they would go to their doctor first before going to the ER. Hence, I
Mhm.
got it wrong.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. If you have chest pain, they're like,
But
okay,
chest
the
pain,
heart.
yes. Chest
Um,
pain, murmurs. If they hear murmurs in your heart, so that murmurs is either a regurgitation or stenosis in your valves.
huh,
So that means your valves are not functioning properly and letting blood flow in the opposite direction.
okay. I find it interesting because cardiac ultrasound, while you only look at the heart, there's so much to it. And I'm watching when I finally got my first echo, I've had 2 of them done now, but watching them do the exam, I'm, like, so amazed because some of them go, like, so fast, and I'm like so the first girl who did mine, she's done ultrasound for over 20, 25 years, so I
Hmm.
expected her to go fast, and I was just watching her in awe because she was just going so fast. I'm like, "Wow." And that's what happens when you know what you're doing, you
Yes.
know what you're getting, you know the images, especially for me, obviously, I have probably good windows, and I'm young, so she was probably able to get through that, like, boom. Then I had a student scan me for the second echo, and he was going obviously much slower, but it's a lot of skill, especially with cardiac because you're scanning with your left hand.
Yes.
So, general sonography, we typically scan with our right hand. And in cardiac, is that what they teach you to scan with your left hand so that the machine is on that side of the patient's body?
Yes. So scanning with the left hand is a more recent update,
Mhm.
only because they used to scan with the right hand, and you have to reach over the patient to go on
Okay.
their left side because the patient has to be um, lying on their left side.
Mm-hmm.
And
And then your arm would be around the
yeah,
patient's chest
yes,
then. Okay.
yes.
If you're
So
using your
for
right hand.
me, my clinical sites have been outpatient. They're practices, so they scan with the right side or right hand, and their
Mm,
beds aren't adjustable.
mm-hmm.
Patients are heavier. So for me, it was very difficult because I would be scanning on my tippy toes, reaching over to the patient, especially when we have to do apical views, which is where we scan on your ribs on your lower left side to
Mm-hmm.
look at your heart upside down, basically.
Mm,
And for me to be able to do that is really difficult because the length to reach over is longer than my arm.
yeah. And then ergonomics plays a role, and
Yes,
then you're hurting yourself.
yes, my shoulder was hurting and so was my
Yeah.
back. So that's
Okay.
why I chose hospital setting because they do left hand. It
Ooh.
was very difficult to learn in the first place
Uh-huh.
because I'm right-handed, so I never used my left hand. All the muscles in my left arm was killing me, like first
Yeah.
weeks of lab.
Yeah.
But like after a couple weeks, you get used to it.
Okay.
And I didn't have the opportunity to do left hand in clinicals, but I was able to learn right hand, so now I can do both hands.
Yeah. See, and now you're versatile, and that helps you in the long run because if your arm hurts, you can use your right hand. If your arm hurts, you can use your left, and you
Yes.
can adjust the patient how you need and how you
Hmm.
want versus only being able to use your one hand. So
Yes.
I'm able to scan patients backwards if I need to. I can scan them with my right hand, but backwards. So
Hmm.
or I can try to scan with my left hand. I mean, I've only done that a few times, but in instances that I needed to, I would do that because then it was better for me or it was better for the patient. In the long run, you're doing what's best for the patient, but also you have to do what's best for your body too. And yeah, that's basically cardiovascular ultrasound. The heart, we're checking the heart and cardiac, and then in vascular, we're checking the veins and the arteries that connect to the heart. It's pretty much that's the topic that you're going to learn, but you have to learn everything, all the anatomy, all the symptoms. There's different symptoms to arteries and veins. Um, like swelling, for example, is a vein issue, but pain can be a vascular or a vein or an artery issue.
Hmm.
So you'll see memes about this a lot of the times because doctors order the wrong exams for the wrong thing. And this is where your
Oh, yes.
knowledge comes into play as a sonographer. And it's really cool because you are the investigator. You don't just get an exam and just do the exam. You get an exam, make sure you're doing the right exam because sometimes it's not the right exam that they're ordering and you want to have the best care for your patient. So hopefully that was a fun deep dive for
Yes.
cardiovascular.
It was a fun talk, especially, it's my
It's our
specialty and
favorite.
then it's our favorite. Yes.
Yeah. So, if you guys have any more questions or you have specific things you want to know, don't forget to comment down below or message us on Instagram, and we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Yes. And thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, set your notifications on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or wherever platform you're listening to. Rate us, review us if you can. We greatly appreciate it. It keeps us going. It keeps us motivated doing these contents for you. Even if you're not interested in sonography, you might get an ultrasound one day, and this
Mhm.
would definitely help you just to know what to expect. And if
Yeah.
you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to Giselle's channel for more episodes and for more of her videos. I think you
Yes.
have a new video coming out. I saw your
Yeah,
story.
I do.
I'm excited for that.
I have multiple videos coming out, you guys. I'm coming up to the end of my MBA. So, I'll be hopping back onto the YouTube. And I can't believe we're here. It's gonna be almost a year since I started the MBA. But yeah, I'll have more videos and contents for you guys to watch and I'm still here. So yeah, hopefully you guys stick around for those. But we have a lot of great episodes coming up for the rest of the episodes until the end of Ultrasound Awareness Month, which is in October. So stay tuned.
Yes, that's coming up too.
All right, you guys.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And we'll
Thank
talk
you.
soon.
Have a good weekend. Have a good week. See you next week. Bye bye.